Samupe, Sampadia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Samupe, Jumpadia, Chimafidi non kotu, era one radio. Oh, and you pumpuma, Asam pumpuma.
Good evening to you all listeners of Era One Radio. We are back again in the studio. We are live broadcasting live from Facebook and YouTube. And tonight, the April 11th, 2023. It's a privilege to be alive, and more especially having my guest here. Well, soon he's going to be a co-host, Dr. James Bryant. It's a privilege and honor. I know he's very scarce because realize the last time I got him here was March 14th. So between that time and this time, he's been very busy. So I have to make sure I was able to network with him and bring him back to the studio. So it's a joy and a pleasure, Dr. Bryant. Thank you for making time tonight. I really appreciate your 1 hour with us tonight, and it's a blessing. So for those of you who have Facebook, YouTube, please share the video, share the link. If you don't have the app, go to your Google Store, Play Store, and download the app, Era One Radio. And anytime we are on, which is 24/7, you will be able to, chime in. Well, the number to call in if you have a question or contribution is 2402-802-633. And in case you want to text, it's 510-931-0946. And as I said, we are broadcasting live. This is not pre-recorded. It's live right now as I speak. It's now 6:06 Eastern Time. Those of you in Ghana, I think it's 10 p.m. And if you're in Australia or other parts of the world, just convert it, add your hours or subtract, and you will be cool. All right. Tonight, I have the singular pleasure of having Dr. Bryant again in the studio. And I will keep introducing him until you all know him very well. Then I'll stop doing that. But for now, this is my second edition with him, so you guys have to know him well. Dr. Bryant James holds a PhD in engineering. He's a founder and CEO of Engineer Your Success LLC, a boutique coaching, consulting, and leadership development firm in Richmond, Virginia. This helps engineering leaders win at work and at home. And that is the topic we're going to discuss tonight. Dr. Bryant believes that you can build a business of your dreams and have a life that you absolutely love. He has over 20 years of experience leading teams and organizations in the private and public sectors, and is the host of the Engineer Your Success podcast. So listen to him. Just look for his name in LinkedIn, everywhere, Dr. James Bryant Sr. Dr. Bryant is a professional engineer, a certified John Maxwell leadership speaker. So he balls with Dr. Maxwell, so you know he's full of wisdom. And he's also a trainer, a coach, and most importantly, he's a loving husband and father of two sons, whom I have the pleasure of leading them at youth seminar. Well, before I go on, I'm going to ask Dr. Bryant to give out a shout out if he wants to give a shout out to his wife, his children, birthday wish, whatever he wants to see on his line. Doc, you are.
Wow. I mean, first, thank you for the great introduction. And two, thank you for putting me on notice to give a shout out to my wife and my family, because now if she hears this, and she's going to say, why didn't you give me a shout out? So exactly. Yes, I will give a shout out to my lovely wife, Melba Bryant. She's the love of my life. I could not be who I am today if it were not for her. There's so many things that I have, so many ways that I've grown through marriage. And, you know, we may get into this discussion at some time, Charles, but everything I needed to learn about communication in life and in business, I learned the first 3 years of marriage.
That's true.
And that is because my wife and I had two different ways in which we communicated. And I had to learn how to communicate in a way that I could deliver the message and the intent of what it is that I was trying to communicate to her. And so I had to get away from this whole thought of, I'm just wired this way. This is how I am, and move towards, who do I want to be? So I had to learn how to re-communicate, relearn everything so that I could be able to win at home, right? It's great to be able to win at work, but if you're not winning at home, that's a problem. Also want to give a shout out to my two sons, James William Bryant III and Nathaniel Linwood Bryant. Again, those are my buddies. I love my kids. I love my family. And I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come back on Air One Radio to spend some time with you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate all the shout out because I know your wife must be listening too. We'll be, remiss if we don't do that. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot, Doc, for a minute. Normally, when I start my program, I just want to do a little bit of warm up. And it's kind of bothering. We're going to talk about winning at work and winning at home. I don't know which one should come first, whether we should win at home or we should win at work. But then later on, I believe you're going to tell us. But then after every mass shooting, we console ourselves that will be the last that we're going to go through. But no sooner is that over than another emerges. I mean, what is going to be the tipping point before this country becomes safe of guns? Why is this situation not being tamed or stopped? It's kind of bothered me. I mean, as a trending issue, I want you to help us with this question because it's a bother to me.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think part of it is the freedom of choice that we have within our country. I think, I've only lived in the United States. I believe that we have one of the greatest countries, if not the greatest country in the world, but that I'm biased, right? But part of the issue that comes with that choice and the rights is there's a segment of our society that really holds true to we have the right to bear arms, and they don't want to have anything that will conflict with that right. But there's also a right of individuals to feel safe, of individuals to be able to go to school without fear of being gunned down. And so you have these competing rights, these competing priorities, and you have people that are on both sides of the issue that think really strongly about it. And Charles, I don't know what the wake-up call is going to be. We've had mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting. And you'll have one segment of our society that says that guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Exactly. They have to press the trigger, of course.
Yeah. People have to press the trigger. That may be true, but that does not mean that easy access to guns is, that doesn't mean that easy access to guns should just happen.
Use an as an advantage, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that may not have answered your question.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
It did.
You put me on the spot, but that's kind of how I feel about that issue.
It is. I mean, I personally, being born in Ghana, Africa, we didn't have. I don't think the people there still have access to guns. It's the military and the police, and hardly would anybody walk into a store and buy a gun as a lance, but just like you said, because of the freedom and the extremity of freedom too can also be, very bad. And I'm not wishing this on anybody, but those who have the ability to change these laws that any crazy guy at all can get hold of a gun, they should do it. But unfortunately, they are not the ones that it hits home, because this shooting that happened in Louisville just this week, 5 people gunned down. It didn't affect the people in the authority who have the ability to change the laws. But maybe I'm not wishing it on them, but if it comes close to them, if their family members lose their life, maybe it will hit them to do something. Anyway, we are not going to political tonight.
But I agree with that. But the other piece too is there's a mental health component that we have to talk about, because a lot of these people that are purchasing guns and that are going to do these mass shootings have mental health issues, and we have to address that as well. So you have the access to guns, and then you have mental health. If we don't address the mental health issue, then that will show itself up in other ways. So there may not be mass shootings, but there may be mass something else. We have to address the mental health crisis in our country.
That is very, true. And thank you very much for your, piece on that. Let me take a quick message to remind our listeners where they are, and I will go into the meat of our message today.
Media, Timothy, and Uncoto, Era One Radio, and Punchima, Asam Punchima, and Ratumchima, Era One, Lebon Pankuma.
Right, we are back to Era One Radio, broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. And in the hot seat tonight is Dr. James Bryant Sr. And I am honored to have him, but then I am on the safer side because I just get to moderate and ask him questions and put him on the spot, and he comes, with all his feel and everything. Anyway, as I said earlier, we are looking at how to win at home and at work, or how to win at work and at home, whichever one you want to put first. But let me just put a few comments on, and then we'll go into our study. All right, so it all boils down to creating a balanced lifestyle. I don't know the information Dr. Bryant is going to share, but I'm just going by the topic. This is just my piece as intro, and then I'll let him take it away, and then we'll go through some questions. If you have questions, please do call him. If you focus only on work, the family gets neglected, and that is when you don't know your child is stealing your gun to school or other places if you have one. If your life is not balanced, you are the one that is chasing the dollar. Always you are gone. 4 a.m. you are gone. You come back like 2 a.m. or 12 midnight when your children are asleep, so you don't even know what goes on. You are making the money, but your family is going to suffer. And if you neglect and don't work well too, then you will go broke, and that also leads to poor lifestyle. So therefore, balance is the ideal. The Bible doesn't even remiss, and it says that a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. If you read Proverbs 11 verse 1, for those of you who love the word, a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. So now I'm going to shoot out my questions to Dr. Bryant. Okay, so Doc, what does it mean to win, and how does that relate to work? That is winning at work. We'll take that first, and then we'll go into the other aspect, the home winning too.
I think the first concept to think through is it's a win for all.
Okay.
It is not a win. It's not a situation where I win and you lose. So it's understanding and approaching life from a position of abundance and saying that this is a win for all situation. So winning at home means that you're able to spend that time with your family. You're able to nurture your kids. You're able to physically and mentally be there in your present. Winning at work is that you're able to make a meaningful contribution to your company, to your business, to your organization. You're generating revenue that continues to provide the financial means for you to take care of your family and your community. And so I typically kind of how I arrived here was like most of us. There was a crisis that I had in life, and this crisis was my wife really making this statement to me. And you hear we talk about how I love my wife, how she's very dear to me, but imagine hearing from your wife, "You must not love me or your unborn child." That's what she said to me when we were in a critical time in our marriage and in life where I was continuing to move up the corporate ladder. I was continuing to take the next step in my career progression. And those words, no husband wants to hear.
That's true. Wow. That must have hit you like a tornado.
It did. It hit pretty hard. So to give a little backdrop, when I graduated with my PhD, I developed my plan of action. It was, I'm going to work 3 to 5 years in the private sector. Then I'm going to work 3 to 5 years in the public sector. Then I want to work 3 to 5 years looking at the same issues from a national level. Then I'm going to go to a university and teach or start a consulting firm. So I had 4 steps. Those were kind of the 4 phases of my thought when I finished with my PhD. Well, at this time, I had just completed working in the private sector and was in the middle of working in the public sector. when I found out we were pregnant. Now let me kind of set this scene for you. So we're living in Richmond, Virginia. The company that I was potentially interviewing for this next phase of my career, the next progression, the 3 to 5 years looking at things from a national level, was in Washington, D.C. Now, Charles, you may know that is a really long commute. It's a really long commute in terms of traffic to go from Richmond to Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to take lightly. And the same day that my wife told me we were expecting our first son, I found out that the company in Washington, D.C. wanted to offer me the job. And so we came home to give each other the news. And I gave her the news about the company. She gave me the news about
the baby.
about the baby. And then she says, I guess you're going to call the company and tell them that you're not going to take the job.
Wow, difficult one.
And my response was, well, why would I do that? Like, literally, it's the next thing. It's the next thing on my list. It's my next thing. And this is where I had to eventually ask myself the question, am I winning at work and at home? But we're not even there yet. So, okay, I take the job and I'm leaving at 4:00 in the morning, getting on the van pool, going to DC. I'm in DC all day. I come home. So I leave when it's dark. I come home when it's dark. I'm not really having time to invest in a relationship with my wife. She's pregnant. She's carrying her first child. I'm traveling. I'm doing things. I'm not really investing in that relationship. My son is born. My wife takes off from work when he's born. And so then that I'm even emboldened. Oh, I got to continue to climb the ladder. I have to continue to make more money. I have to continue to make a bigger contribution because my wife isn't working right now.
Okay.
These are the excuses that we tell ourselves, Charles.
That's true.
And so that I was in that phase. And another funny thing happened while I was spending all of this time traveling and spending all the time commuting, not spending time invested in the relationship with my wife. I wasn't spending time taking care of myself in terms of my health, in terms of just my weight and strength. And so imagine the worst case where you've gained 50 pounds, 70 pounds, and your relationship with your wife is not what it needs to be.
Best.
You don't spend any time with your kid. And my wife goes back to work, but immediately when she goes back to work, we find out we're pregnant again with our second child.
And it might be somebody's fault, you, huh? Of course.
No, it's just we're pregnant again with our second child. And so Nathaniel, who is my 14-year-old, he was born basically at 26 weeks in a day. So that means he was 1 pound, 15 ounces when he was born.
Wow.
So we have him who's almost 3 months early. So we have that going on. We have my son who's about a year older there. We have my wife who's dealing with the issues of just thinking that she didn't do a good enough job of carrying the baby.
Yeah.
And you have me saying, well, I need to work. So that led me to just some reflection time. And I had to ask myself 3 questions that I say changed my life. And the 3 questions, were, am I winning at work? And at that time, I could say, yes, I was winning at work. I was managing a multi-million-dollar research program. I had moved to be the lead staff over that particular program. I had other people that were working under me, was able to establish contacts all around the world dealing with transportation research. So from a job perspective, absolutely, I was winning. The next question is, was I winning at home? And I had to look objectively and say, no. My health is crappy. The relationship with my wife is not great. I have a 1-year-old that I'm not spending any time bonding with. And now I have a newborn who's having issues and are in the hospital. And instead of me being present there, I'm thinking through being physically there, but I need to do other things for work. And so I had to have what we would call that come to Jesus moment with myself and say, God, this isn't working. Like, this isn't working. I need something better because this is not working. So the three questions, are, am I winning at work? Am I winning at home? And if I'm not, then what am I going to do about it? What are you going to do? And so I immediately started to make changes and build and design a life where my family was at the forefront of that. So if you could imagine my family being in a structure or a castle, I had to build a moat around my family time to make sure that work no longer was the thing that drove me.
That's true.
And a funny thing happened. I was still successful. A funny thing happened is that work began to respect the boundaries that I set. When people see that this is who you are and this is how you show up, they will respect that.
That's true. Dr. Bryant, this is a very profound, topic, and I can foresee we can run on this program for almost 6 months on it because there's so much meat in it. Now, you've said a lot, and given us snippets of what it means to win. To you, maybe, or to anybody listening to us, winning could be synonymous to being successful, excelling, or whatever. What are some of the factors? What would you say are the things people would say constitute winning at work?
Oh, winning at work. I'm going after the promotion. I'm continuing to be upwardly mobile. I'm going to get more money, a position, a title, all of the trappings of success, or those things that we identify as success. It's normally tied to the end result. Okay. So the end result is the promotion. The end result is more money. Those are the things that people typically will identify as winning at work.
All right, let's direct our attention to the winning at home. You made mention of the fact that you need to bond with your son, your wife, and of course, in a way, I'll put in quotes that she felt neglected or separated or something because you leave very early and you come back very late. Yeah. And of course, that relationship is very important. Of course, the family has to be cared for, but that vacuum that is also left to is another issue. And sometimes I can foretell that sometimes you are leaving, going to DC, and you feel guilty. Oh, here I am, leaving my family behind it, or for the chasing of the almighty dollar. And the question was, you couldn't just say, okay, I want to just ignore this job or say no to it and find a job here. It was a dream that maybe you've dreamt about. And sometimes people go chasing dreams or looking for their dream job. So it's not something anybody can also fault you because it's something that it's an ambition that you also wanted to fulfill. And it just happens that it's like you have to eat your, apples or whatever it is and still have it. It's not easy having to eat your fruit or your apple or whatever it is, or eating your cake and still having it. So that was a very tough situation. Now, for anybody listening to us tonight, it's a matter of being balanced. Balance is very important. And most people find it very, very difficult to balance it because here you are going after your dream, and here you have your family that you have to take for. So you leave home and you feel bad, but then you still have to go. And the aspect of the home aspect, paradigm, what advice will you give to people who find themselves in this paradigm? At least you've been able to, overcome that, and I don't think you're going to DC anymore. So now you are stable here. But what advice would you give to anybody in that situation? They find themselves in that milieu, so to speak.
I'm glad that you asked that. And I developed a process called the Engineer's Blueprint for a Balanced Life. And part of that is a 4-step process where, number one, you want to focus on what matters most.
Okay.
So typically, even when I'm working with clients, it'll be like, what's important to you? Oh, my family, faith, exercise, work, my health. So, relationships, they list all of these things that they think should be listed, right? And then the next step is, okay, let's look at your calendar and how are you actually allocating your most precious resource, which is your time and your attention. So I can't measure your attention with your calendar, but I can measure how you're using your time. So if I look at your calendar and outside of your normal work hours, if the only thing that you have scheduled is more work, then I'm going to question whether or not when you said that your family is a priority and your faith is a priority, are they really a priority? Because you're not doing any of those things. And where you spend your time is what you're going to value. That's where you're going to put your treasure. And so we'll go through the process, focus on what matters most. Then once we understand the difference or the gap between what you say matters and what actually matters, then we work on visualizing the life that you want. What is it that you really want? What does it look like for you to win at home? What does it look like for you to have this integrated, centered approach where you're able to have a great home life and you are doing a great job at work? Visualize what that looks like. And now let's think about the qualities that that person has. And we're going to design a plan that will close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. And then the last step in the process is you execute that plan. Because if you don't take action and you don't execute, what you'll have is a nice map that's on paper. You'll have nice sentences and nice pictures and it'll look great. But if you don't execute it, it's not going to happen.
Awesome. By the way, I forgot to mention that I like the background behind you. Those photos are unique. Well, I'll take a quick ad, and when we come back, I have a question about teleworking and all that, and linking all this to our discussion.
Yep.
Just stay put.
They are 4 women. They are beautiful with brains. They are eloquent, decent, wise, and experienced. You have heard many. The funny. Now, it's time to hear the experience and the brainy. Meet Selena, Dorcas, Gifty, and Annette as they present the real in common getting. In common BISS chain, as in Takrenu assume the real in common getting. Showing live this and every Sunday, 7 p.m. on Era One Radio on Facebook and on YouTube, Era One Radio and on Taibo channel. Kaise, so we see the real in common getting ya. What brabon tete, when yan konsa, we the real in common getting.
I am here with Dr. James Bryant. We are discussing how to win at home and at work. The word win might be subjective. I don't know how you want to describe it, but some may call it being successful, promotion, more money, and all that. But then that also comes at a price. That is what we're discussing tonight. And Dr. Bryant has been very, very fantastic explaining to us, using himself as a case study, telling us what he went through. Sometimes when you just read stuff from textbook, you don't feel it. Somebody wrote it, so it's not a live experience. But then when you have gone through, you can explain better. So he's been there before and he knows what it means. That is why he's the best person to discuss this topic. Now, Doc, let's talk about COVID-19.
Yeah.
It hit us at a point when nobody was looking. We just woke up one day and we heard that, there was a virus perambulating in the air. We have to wear masks and all that. So it became a detriment to the society. But in some way, somebody may call it a positive advantage in that most of us were forced to telework, stay at home and, work from home. And we didn't even know that we could use Skype, Zoom, WebEx and all that to accomplish the same job. If I have to go for inspection, I go to the inspection if it was allowed and come back and all that. So we didn't have to drive to work. So would you say the COVID that came, that snugged us in the family, was it a kind of advantage that bonded family, brought them together? Because like we discussed, you might not be able to win at work and also win at home. But then having to work at home, did it seal the gap and brought families?
Well,
that is not a trick question, but I'll follow up with another one.
No, I don't think it's a trick question. And I would say, if I was thinking of this as a chart, then I would say in the beginning, yes, because we were all going through collective trauma. When you turn on the television and you see, thousands of people that are dying each day and succumbing to COVID-19, everything dominated on the news. Everything was shut down. And you only had your family, right? You're there in the house. So as things begin to open up, people begin to work remotely. One of the issues that everyone faced is the fact that there was no longer bright lines between home and work.
Okay.
Everything was happening together at the same time. And believe it or not, there were many people that were feeling more burned out because everybody was working from home than they were before. And so, in one sense, yes, it provided the ability for folks to balance more and to do more home related things. But everyone wasn't equipped with the tools needed to build those boundaries in their life between work and home because everything's happening at the same place.
Okay. All right. So that is the positive aspect. And I don't know whether you have heard this before, but it's something that I've heard before. And I don't know whether it's still in the system. There were some people that were of the opinion that getting up in the morning, going to work, spending the 8 hours there, and some people even call those as, oh, my work wife and my work husband, which, I mean, we believers don't do that, but some people were in that category. So when COVID hit and we had to spend time at work, I mean, home,
Yeah.
you see your wife, 8 hours, 10 hours, your kids, everything. Some, like you mentioned the word burnout, some people on the extreme couldn't handle it.
Right.
And there were some videos that were circulating around that, a lady would say, okay, you always leave for work and you have an excuse that you are going to work. Even when you are done with work, you find a reason to maybe go to the party or some places with your friends. Now we are all stuck in the same house. You don't have any excuse. So did that also become a disadvantage that spouses are seeing themselves too often, and you go to the bathroom, you see your wife, you are going to the kitchen, she's there, vice versa. And so was that also a problem to some people
I don't think it's that spouses were seeing each other too much. I think that we lost control or the ability to control our environment. So if you think about going to work, you're leaving, you are controlling your environment, right? You're going. When you get there to work, you have other things that are going on.
Okay.
But it's a certain sense of control that you have. When everyone's home, the kids are there, whether they're in virtual school or not. So you can't, I don't think you can eliminate the family aspect of it, particularly when you have kids that were school age that were staying home as well. And so I've been working off site. I had worked off site when I was still working in corporate America. I've been working off site for like 13 years.
Mm.
So just before COVID, before any of this stuff, I had been working remotely. And that was part of the shift that I made when I asked myself that question, am I winning at work and at home? And if not, what are some things that I can do to actually better manage that? So for me, the issue was the kids being home. It wasn't my wife being home. It was the kids being home. Because you're working, you're trying to focus, and you get somebody to come.
Daddy.
They're coming in, they're talking, and they're dealing with the trauma of COVID-19 as well. So you have to, as a parent, take that time to spend and invest in that relationship. So that means that there were some nights that I had to work longer than I may have wanted to work because there were constant interruptions.
Wow. That is beautiful, although it's on the other side of it. But then when it comes to the winning, and I know, we can go through list by list, but when it comes to hours of working, is long hours one of the factors that can mess up a home, because somebody says, okay, I want to win at work and they want to meet a certain quota, but then they work too many hours. What advice do you have for people like that?
Well, my advice for them is does it take that many hours for you to win at home? Where are you investing your time? Are you investing the same amount of time to quote unquote win at work as you are at home? Again, my definition of win is a win for all. So that means that you're looking for solutions where everyone can win. So I looked for a solution where I could continue to provide a contribution to my company, to the people that I was working for, as well as provide a contribution to my family. That was more of my presence in my time. So you're looking at a win for all. If you look at it win lose, then that's where we get messed up.
One of the issues I've experienced or realized that is becoming a canker in our society is social media.
Oh, yes.
Social media. I mean, when it talks about, we talk about winning at work and at home. Somebody might even stay at home and still be on the losing end because there's too many attractions, other things, siphoning your attention. You might even be in the same house with a family member, and because of social media, the attention is drifted. How do we overcome such issues? Because you can be present with somebody, but then you are not there.
Yeah, it's not social media. Social media is not the problem. Distraction and procrastination is the problem. The problem is when you don't have purpose. The problem is when you are not focused. When you have purpose and you're focused, you're able to move past the distractions. But if you are just moving through life, with no focus and no purpose, then you'll go down every road, every distraction that comes your way. You're gonna pursue it.
Well, Doc, at this time, I would have played a jingle and advert. But I think my advert, I'm going to take the advert from you. Let me put it on the stop. I want you to advertise your company or your podcast for those who are listening to us on the side of Era One, can also know about you on the other side when we are not on Era One. Tell us about, your projects and what people can expect and what they can benefit from that project.
Oh, yeah. So our company is Engineer Your Success, LLC. You can get to our website as engineeryoursuccessnow.com. That's engineeryoursuccessnow.com. We offer coaching and consulting and leadership development services. We focus on people with a science, technology, and engineering background to help them design a life where they can win at work and at home. That is the main focus of everything that I do. We have a free monthly community engagement called the Engineer Your Success On-Ramp. You can find out more about that on our website. That's engineeryoursuccessnow.com. And the on-ramp sessions will cover things like overcoming procrastination, eliminating imposter syndrome, and it just allows a place for our community to get together and for the community to learn and grow together.
All right. So on your podcast, what are the hours that you broadcast? How can our listeners,
Well, there are 90 episodes right now on the podcast. We produce a podcast weekly. And so it's the Engineer Your Success podcast. If you go to your browser and you put up Engineer Your Success, you'll see my picture. I think I have the podcast right there behind me, the cover. You'll see me with my arms folded there.
Okay.
And we cover topics that will help you achieve success both in business and in life.
Awesome. I read this, actually the title of a book. I haven't gone through the whole book, but it says something like How to Argue and Win Every Time, at home, at work, in court, everywhere, every day, whatever it is. That is what the title of. And I have this question I want to ask you. If I were to give you an essay to write for us, and this is the topic that I would have, given you, which says, winning is getting what we want, which also means helping others get what they want. This is one of the questions that the author, I think the name is, what is the name? It will come up. But the title, this one item is winning is getting what we want, which also means helping others get what they want. If you were to write an essay for me, let's say 2 paragraphs, what would you say about that subtitle or question or statement?
No, I think that's I sum it up as a win for all, right? It's a win-win solution. It's not just that I get what I want, and it's not just that you get what you want. It's using curiosity to explore the options so that we can both win, so that we can both get a resolution that we're looking for. Now, there are always going to be situations where you're in a game right? That's I win, you lose. We're not talking about that kind of context. In the context of a conversation, I think it's a win if I am able to articulate what it is that I want to get across, and you are able to hear it and accept it. And when I say accept it, just accept it for what it is. Many times people will say they want to be heard, but they really want to be obeyed. And if you think about this, and your listeners, you can think about this, someone will say, you know what, Charles, I think you need to do X, Y, and Z. We'll have a conversation. They'll say, I think you need to do X, Y, and Z. Dr. Boison, you'll go forward. You'll make your decision. You're doing what you're making a different decision with your team. You're executing what you believe is the right action. That person that you had the conversation with is going to say, Dr. Boison, you didn't hear me. And you're going to say, yeah, I heard you. No, you didn't hear me. Why do you think I didn't hear? Why don't you think I heard you? Because you didn't do what I said. They don't want to be heard. They want to be obeyed.
Wow, that is deep. That is deep. Does familiarity breed contempt in homes? Do you believe in that axiom?
Say it again.
Familiarity breeds contempt. Like, when you tend to be with some people for a long time, you get so used to them that sometimes you might even take them for granted. Does that happen in families?
I think that happens, period. Right? So here's the thing. It happens at jobs. It happens in families. It happens with our relationship with God. It happens with our relationship with things. So let's take the relationship with things. That's the easiest one to talk about. When you get a new car, you want to keep the car clean.
Tell me
you
about it.
You don't want anybody to eat in the car. You're really, really super, like, we can't do anything to the car. We got to keep it the way it is. The longer you drive the car and the longer you have the car, the less particular you are about what happens in the car. You don't have the same awe. You don't have the same reverence for that vehicle as you did before. You start taking it for granted. That's probably the easiest example that I can have. But with other things and with people and with family, the antidote to being content in that way or complacent in that way is gratitude. And it's really exercising gratitude for those things that you are grateful for. If you're grateful for your family, exercise gratitude. So and I've told this story a couple of times, like the past few days, which is I had a client who was a retired doctor that was having issues with his adult children because he didn't invest the time needed to have great relationships with them when they were growing up. So that created an issue. So one of the things that we focused on was time management and productivity. Like, what does that have to do with his relationships? Well, we focused on allowing him to actually be able to manage his time, to be able to block out time for those things that were important to him, to get used to that rhythm of living life in that way. And then the next step was to let his family know, to let his children know that he was making time for those things that were important to him and that they were important to him. And he wanted to schedule some time on the calendar every week to spend some time talking to them in kind of mending that relationship. And so his two sons, they hopped on it. That was fine. He had another child who was reluctant to take advantage of it because of all of the past hurts, the way that things were before. And so what I told him is to still schedule that time on your calendar. But what I want you to do, if she's not there to talk, I want you to pray for her. I want you to be grateful for who she is. Don't pray that God will change her. We're not praying about God changing her. What we're praying about is just you thanking God for the gift that he has given you in your daughter. That's it. So he does that for a few weeks. We're following up. How are things going? Well, we're still not meeting on a basis, but everything has changed. When we're talking, things are flowing so much easier, and it's just different. And he says, I'm so glad she changed. And I'm like, she didn't change at all. Your perception of things change when you stop focusing on those negative things and you start displaying gratitude for what you have.
Want to get some water? You good?
I'm good.
You good?
Allergies, right?
Oh yeah, we are in the pollen season, so yeah, that is obvious. Yeah, the guy I wanted to quote was Gary Spence. He was the one that I said wrote the book How to Argue and Win Every Time. Yeah, I mean the statement you've made all kind of tying, and I believe this is the right kind of tone to take it. And sometimes some people think, oh, a spouse is demanding too much, or the other way around, because your spouse might say, oh, you spending too much time at work, or this one will say, okay, I need to bring in more money. That is what we're talking about tonight. But I believe, like we said earlier on, a balance is very important, because if I spend all the time with you in the house and I don't go to work, you complain that there's no money coming. There's no money coming in. Our bills are late, and our mortgage is late, so you have to pay them. And then when you get, of course, we have to do our 8 hours and sometimes maybe 9. There are some who do 12 hours. But then when you spend more time than is necessary, then we have an issue. Even in the COVID-19 season, there were some of us who were still teleworking, but then it looks as if the hours we put in at work at home is even more than what we used to do. So that also became an issue. You are in the house, all right. Oh, I am here, maybe wearing your PJs and working, but still you are not being accessible to your partner, whoever you live it, because it's like you are in water, but then you say you are thirsty. You are right in a pool or something, but you say you are thirsty. That doesn't mean you can just drink the pool water. You are in the water, all right, you are thirsty, but that's not something you can drink. So you can't, I am home. Can't you see I'm home? But sometimes you have to make the time. If it means maybe taking a break here and there to come in with your family members, it's not just sitting there, okay, I'm at home. So you see me, don't you see me sitting there? I'm at home. What else do you want? But then you are not being accessible to the person, although you think you are available. But that's different.
Here's the thing. When your spouse makes that comment to you that, oh, you're always working, she's not really talking about work. What she's saying is that I don't feel like I am a priority. I don't feel like this family is a priority for you. So it's getting past the defensiveness of that statement. Again, when my wife says I don't love her or my unborn child, it's getting past the defensiveness of that to start peeling back to see what is it that they're really trying to communicate. So if the communication is about priority has to do with the order of how things are planned, right? And it may be that you're able to spend even a smaller amount of time, but it's focused on the right thing, can actually satisfy the appetite that's there for making your family feel as though they're a priority.
Awesome. All right, we'll be wrapping up in a few minutes, but then let me go for a quick clip, and then when we come back, I'll let Dr. Bryant give us his closing and words of wisdom for the night. Stay put.
Hello, beautiful people of Ghana. This is Boison Specialist Hospital. We are so excited to announce to our people Ghana that we are finally opened and we are accepting patients. At Boison Specialist Hospital, our extraordinary physicians and nurses are here to provide a high-quality medical service to our extraordinary patients. Our services include primary care services, maternal, neonatal, and pediatric services. We also have an in-house pharmacy. We have x-ray and laboratory services available to you. Come to us for all your healthcare needs, and you will be happy you did, because we believe the health is wealth. Thank you, and stay blessed.
Yes, we are back on Era One Radio. We are broadcasting live from Facebook and YouTube and also Modern Ghana Radio. Tonight, my guest co-host has been Dr. James Bryant. He's been in the hot seat, but the good thing is that all over his house is full of air conditioning, so he's not feeling the heat. He's just giving us all the response and whatever you have you. So tonight we looked at how to win at home and how to win at work. Those two things are very important because the bills have to be paid, and at the same time too, you have to show love and care for your family. You can't neglect them and say all in the name of I want to bring in the bacon so you can bake. Sometimes you bring the bacon and they get so tired they don't even want to bake it anymore, but it has to be baked in love. So balance is very important. That is why Proverbs, as I quoted 11:1, says that a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. We have to balance. You can't sit home all 24 hours and say, I don't want to work. I'm just praying for God to bring me money. It doesn't work that way. God stopped dropping manna years ago. So you have to go to work, make money and come. But whilst you are home, make yourself available. We have to balance it. Well, Doc, I don't know what else I didn't ask her, but whatever I didn't ask, I'm sure you have a solution to. But anyway, I want you to give us your closing remarks. Whatever I kind of, failed to ask or I didn't even think about, give us your closing remarks, embody everything. Put all the information and send us home.
I'll put all of the information together and send you home. Okay,
exactly.
So you're really trying to put it on me, right? Is that what it is?
Not really, but I just wanted to give us your words of wisdom before we close. In a nutshell, yeah.
I would say in a nutshell that stuff's going to happen.
Okay.
Right? You're going to face challenges when you are really trying to actively to create a life that is centered around what's important to you. You're going to be challenged, and you may not know what next steps you need to take. Okay. And that's okay. You have people like Charles, you have people like myself that you can reach out to kind of get some advice and some help. But most importantly, you have the Word of God. You have the Holy Spirit. You are able to reach into that divine connection and get the wisdom that you need for your next step. You don't need the energy, the strength, and wisdom to make it to the finish line. What you need is the energy, the strength, and the wisdom to take that next step. And after you take that step, you're going to take another step, and you're going to take another step, and you'll continue to build momentum to get to where you want to go. The Bible says that if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, and he will give it to him liberally. So if you're struggling with an issue, then I pray that God will give you the wisdom. In fact, Father God, in the name of Jesus, I thank you for everyone that is listening to this program and the people that are struggling with an issue, that need wisdom, that need direction. I pray that you will provide that for them even right now, God. Provide it for them right now, God. Give them ideals to help them deal with their circumstance, even as they sleep, God. I thank you for putting people in their pathway that can help give them even more ideals, God, to continue to live a life where they're winning at work and at home. And that includes a relationship with you.
Thank you very much. Amen. Amen. Thank you very much. Yeah, the steps we do need. Every decision we make in this life is a step. You've said it. You've said everything. I don't even need to add anything because you gave the closing remark. But I just want to add that our Sharpton said one thing. He said, when you look in the mirror, who do you see? Make that person a better person. And of course, we all know that the nuclear family, is where everything begins. If the family is tight, if the family is together, if the family is stable, then we can get a stable community. When we have a stable community, then we can have maybe a stable city or state. And when that is possible, we can have a whole nation of stable people. Most of the kids that go around shooting around and taking guns and killing, can't even imagine a 6-year-old who took a gun to go shoot his teacher. If the family is tight, if we are taking care of the children, if we are doing what we are supposed to do, looking for each other and finding where our children are, or we bind together, some of these things, all this, psychiatric issues and mental issues that we experience that leading to people, taking guns and killing, we can curb them. So these are some of the things we're talking about. If you want to win at home, you can win at home. If you want to win at work, you can do that, but have a balance. Do not win at work, get all the promotions. You are the best CEO, but when you come home, your life is miserable. Yep. When they say, Dr. Bryant is the best employee of the quarter, and then your wife will say, what are you talking about? I don't even know that. Who is this man? He's a different person at work and different person at home. That is not what we want. When they say Dr. Bryant is the best employee, the wife will say, yes, that is my husband. Whatever he is at work is at home, and I'm proud of him. That's what we're looking for, and I believe that's what is working. So tonight, we've been discussing winning at home and winning at work. Some of you, I know you don't have time to listen whilst we are doing live. You are at work or somewhere, but the broadcast is still live. It's still available on YouTube and Facebook. Just go to Era One, and all our clips are there. Listen to Dr. Bryant, take words of wisdom, and we'll meet again. I can't even promise when I'm going to get him, but I believe God will make him available because he's very busy, and I have to pray and fast before I get him. So, Doc, our doors are always open. You can always come anytime. Just call me. But then we'll talk off air. Find out when. I can't promise that we are coming next week because I know your schedule is very tight. But then, for those of you who listen to us tonight, thank you very much for joining us. Be the best that you can be. Be the best husband or a wife or whatever at home. And when you get to work too, let people know that you carry a charisma. That when you are not at work, they will say, we wish this guy was here. They miss you when you are not at work. And when you leave home too, your family can say, we miss our dad or we miss our mom. Balance it. And when you do that, there is no false abomination. Thank you very much, Doc. And I'll see you on the other side. Have a very good evening.
See you guys.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Aden urefiana Zeo tumi manya eni about Aden wasua mani suwa fosunyade Aden meba Aden kra Eya useni da suasa Eni da sonsa Eni da sonsa kra Eni da sonsa yo Eni da sonsa Eya mensubi Eni da sonsa Eni da suwa Eni da sonsa Oh adio Eni da sonsa